Hi, friend. It's nice to be with you, Osha, today as we celebrate Pride. And I wanted to have you introduce yourself to our many guests that are watching today and tell us a little bit about who you are, the work you're doing, and where you're from.
Beautiful, and thank you for having me here today too. And I always love doing presentations, especially with other Black folks, to just be in community and talk about, like you said, just who we are. So my name is Osha Towers. My pronouns are they and she, and I'm Black, I'm queer, I live my own fluidity, and I work at Diverse and Resilient, which is an LGBTQ statewide organization. And I oversee the community work there as the director of community organizing. And that just involves a whole slew. I have a Mosh Posh team of being able to offer curriculums, distributing condoms and dental dams to community, hosting spaces like our trans community meetings throughout the year, as well as being able to do presentations and just have meetings like these where we just go off into spaces and educate folks on what does it mean for you to uplift the LGBTQ community, because we can't just have a group of 5 doing it alone, right?
Yeah.
And I'm originally from Muskegon, Michigan, but as I was just telling you earlier, my grandma came up from Louisiana years ago. So when I was a kid, we used to always come back to Milwaukee on the ferry and just hang out. And I actually spent a lot of time at the First Stage Theater Academy too. So it's nice to be back in the area because DNR isn't too far from there. So I have a little bit of a sense, but it's definitely very different being a grown adult than actually living in the city. So.
That's wonderful. You know, the prolific James Baldwin, who's one of my heroes and many of our heroes in the movement, once said that he thought when he was born Black and gay and poor, that he hit the jackpot. Do you agree with Mr. Baldwin?
Yeah, I think I appreciate people that talk about it in that way, because so often we think about, well, we're filled with so much extra struggle in the world and there's all these additional barriers, versus the reason that there are barriers is because we're just so phenomenal and expansive. So it's like the world trying to combat that without letting us be able to fully exist as ourselves because it's so powerful. So I do think that there's something about just being able to be surrounded by the beauty of Black and queer and trans folks and community. So yeah, I think he's right. The jackpot, we got all the goodness. So
yeah, like a gumbo from Louisiana, just all
right.
all the goodness. What do you want our many, many listeners from around the state and around the country to know about your organization and why and how we can support it?
Yeah, I really want folks to know that this is an organization that's specifically for our entire LGBTQ community, but we do prioritize our Black and Brown folks because we know that our Black and Brown community of Latinx, Indigenous, and other folks of color need the support the most because we face those additional barriers through what we know about intersectionality and through what we know about the openness of our community and our culture, being able to have people fully come out and exist as themselves. So with that, as an organization, we work on HIV and STI testing. We offer support for HIV care, which is really just being able to get folks that have left care for whatever reason, because the reality is there's so many barriers out there. Even for myself, I can't name the last time that I've been to a dentist, but I know I should, and I know many people in the world that should. When we're talking about HIV and the stigma that comes along with that, and folks having to choose between being able to pay for medication and lab work or keep the lights on or get food or just being able to get a ride out there, that becomes a huge difficulty for folks. So being able to navigate folks through that. And then our advocacy support, that is everything from intimate partner violence to hate violence to helping young people that have been kicked out of their home and want to know what are the next steps to even trying to get to rent a place or get the food for the next day or stay in school. What does that look like for me? And then of course my team too, but I've mentioned a bit of our work already as far as just the Mosh Podge of being able to support community as needs come up. So I would say it's important to not just know that organizations like this exist, but also be able to help support us through that work. And that's not only talking financially, that's just being able to be a person in community that's really listening and supporting other LGBTQ folks that you meet in space and not just saying, oh, well, I love everybody, so that's good enough. No, like we need people to actually show up and prove to us that you mean it when things are happening, because we still know that statistically speaking, more of our folks are being murdered, specifically Black trans women and community. More of our folks are struggling with mental health. More folks are coping because we have to make it through the day. So using drugs and alcohol and different substances. So really showing that your support is genuine, not just saying that you're an ally because that's cool to be, right?
Yeah, yeah. And with that, as we celebrate Pride, with the reality that homophobia and racism continues to rise each day in our country, in our nation, why is it so important for us this Pride to not only celebrate but also be active, in your opinion?
I think it's so important because, like you said, homophobia, racism, anti-Blackness, transphobia continues to be an issue. And what we see is that over the years, Pride has slowly become this thing that is just about the beauty and the glamour and the rainbows and a lot of marketing for folks to feel more comfortable wearing whatever other brand has, right? Instead of really getting back to the home of what Pride was truly about, and that was about access, and that was about safety, and that was about the existence to fully exist as yourself out on the streets without having to worry about what was going to come next, right? So this Pride really gets back to the fact that we've seen in 2020 the rise of just overall awareness with the Black folks that have been dying out on the streets. And it's not because that's something that's new. That's not what it is. There's just more access to media seeing that, and more people becoming more knowledgeable about what's actually going on in the world. So this increase with protests after George Floyd and after Breonna Taylor, and getting to see that. So even last year, we got to have a Pride March that was specifically focused on Black Lives Matter. And this year in Milwaukee, we're going to have another Pride March in celebration of that, but continuing that move of activism, because we know that it's not enough to just be out on the streets in rainbows. We actually have to get back to where it all started with Marsha P. Johnson and with Sylvia Vera saying, change, make it happen. And the last thing that I'm going to say on this too, since I brought them up, is if anybody has any questions or thoughts about what I mean when I say it's not just about the rainbow and the glamour and the muscular cis white men that are gay and exist in community and also need support, but we've seen be like the image of what Pride is for the LGBTQ community. It's not just about that, it's about our entire community feeling safe and accepted. And Sylvia Rivera has this beautiful and brilliant speech about quiet down and you're out here and you're saying that you're here with me, but I'm still struggling. And you say that I'm this figure that is in front of everybody and I inspire you, but I'm not able to even walk down the street without living in fear. So what does that really mean to say that Pride is what we have right now? So just being able to get back to that, I think, is just crucial.
Yeah, and I say amen to that, my friend. Amen. As you look at your work and the mission that you are on, do you feel that the struggle is still very much alive, or do you feel like within the world that people are more tolerant, that there are more kids becoming and owning their pronouns and owning their identity in this new generation coming up? Or is it a struggle that is just still growing in its size and its scope in the United States of America?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a really good question. And I think that it is something where we are seeing so much more acceptance and openness, but there's still that struggle. Something that warms my heart is being able to hear from young folks that are told, yeah, this is the person's pronouns, or this person is just gonna dress that way. And it's like, cool, amazing, no questions about it, you know? And that's so brilliant to me, because it really speaks to the fact that as we get older and as we age and we get socialized into thinking that there is this one way of being, then we start combating that. And that's where that hate really comes from. But for our young people that are showing us and proving that doesn't make any difference to them. People are just people, and they should be able to love and dress and just be how they are, right? But I definitely still know that there is a need in community. We even had a trans needs assessment in 2020 that we completed, and it was surveying over 100 folks right here, trans and non-binary folks right here in Milwaukee. And one of the greatest takeaways from it for me was that 86% of folks that were surveyed live in this constant state of fear. And that's fear from harassment, from violence on the streets, from being questioned in medical spaces, and all of these things. So just to know that we've come so far, and that's amazing. And even the fact that we get to have this huge pride event, and that we get to see more folks that are active and are learning about what LGBTQ words even mean, that's beautiful, and that is something that we should definitely appreciate. But there is certainly still so much more that we need to do in community to be able to serve everyone, including really prioritizing, again, our Black and Brown, and especially our trans and non-binary folks.
Wow, I've said this many times, as a fellow artist and activist and administrator, to quote my favorite president, Barack Obama, you're doing the work of angels. And it's so necessary to have that. So as you look at the world today, my friend, what do you know for sure?
What do I know for sure? I almost want to say nothing. But I feel that as I look at the world today, I know for sure that change is going to come, and it's going to be something where people are going to have a better world when I'm gone than what I came into. And I'm already seeing that happen. So that's at least one thing that I know for sure, and that gives me a lot of hope and joy in the work that I get to do.
Yeah, especially if, as we say in the movement, for generations yet unborn.
Yeah.
That's why we do it. So let me ask you two more questions before we go. What gives you hope as you look at the community, as you look at the movement? What gives you hope, my friend?
As I said, our young people give me so much hope, because of the fact of how brave they are and how willing they are to discover and explore themselves and just listen to other people around them. But also, with our elders and just all folks in community, it gives me a lot of hope when I have conversations with people, and it's this moment of being like, yup, okay, I get it. Or at least just saying, yes, I am going to still support and love this person, even if I don't understand everything. And for me, that is everything that I want. And that's really moving things forward in my mind. So that gives me hope that that it's not this belief that people in our world isn't able to change and grow. But that's a very real thing that's happening, even if it's in those small ways right now too.
That's beautiful. So today in the world, in Milwaukee, a child's going to come out, discover their full humanity, and they're going to have pushback from the world. It could be their family, their church, their community. What do you say to that person, old or young, who is coming out today in Pride Month? What advice do you give them to lift them up?
Mm-hmm. And to me, the first thing is just how proud I am of individuals that are courageous in doing that. And also for people that, may not be out right now and are still just knowing and discovering for themselves who they are. But I'm just so proud of it. And also, I would say just continue to live and exist as your full self and explore what that means for you, instead of trying to fit into what other people want you to be, because that has continued to be the most just amazing thing that I get to see with young people, where it's like, yep, day to day, if I'm going to wear a dress, I'm going to wear a dress, and I'm just going to feel beautiful, and I'm going to be pretty, and I'm going to run around, and it's going to be great. So to get to see folks that are able to do that, I just love. So this is yourself, and also find that community of people that uplift you and make you feel whole. And it's okay if that takes time too, because those people are out there and you will discover it in time.
And to thy own self be true. Amen. So how, lastly, as we wrap up in these final few seconds, how do people make donations to your organization? How do they find out? Where do they go to learn more about you and your work and your organization?
Yeah, so anyone can go to diverseandresilient.org, and we have a donations page right on the top right corner there. Or you can also make a donation sending a check off to Diverse and Resilient, and our location is 2439 North Holton Street.
Excellent.
We're always
Well,
thankful for that. It's always a blessing.
yeah, absolutely. And I encourage all of the many people who are watching this, we celebrate Pride, and there's no one on the planet that does not know a person from the community. And so how can you, in big and small ways, by supporting this very important organization, these incredible spirits that work to do and make the world a better place? Osha, you are tremendous in your humanity, your grace, and I'm just a better person having spent time with you today. So thank you for reminding us all to keep our eyes on the prize, to lead with humility and grace, and to know that the struggle continues.
Thank you.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Bye-bye.